Nathan Cassar. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Justice Plan podcast show, where we bring you the best wedding insights and expert advice to make your day absolutely unforgettable. Now, I'm your host, as always, Nathan Cassar, and today we have an incredible wedding industry legend joining us, Natalie Hagopian, the powerhouse behind NH Weddings. Now, with over 15 years of experience, Natalie and her amazing team have planned and coordinated over 500 unforgettable weddings. Whether you're looking for full-scale wedding planning, day of coordination, or styling, NH Weddings does it all. What started as a personal challenge back in 2015, when Natalie planned her own wedding at just 22, she has since blossomed this business into a thriving business, helping couples navigate the wedding planning process with ease and joy. But Natalie's expertise doesn't stop there. She's also a devoted farmer's wife, mother of 3 boys, and passionate about growing her own food on a stunning 3-acre property in the Blue Mountains. Her solution-focused mindset and dedication to supporting other women in business are just a few things that set her and her team apart. In today's episode, we're diving right into some of the most important elements of wedding planning. From creating a wedding run sheet that flows seamlessly to understanding the critical differences between a wedding planner and day coordinator, Natalie will be sharing her top tips and tricks to make sure your big day goes off without a hitch. Plus, we'll also chat about how to choose the right vendors, stay on top of trends, and how to book only the professionals that will ensure your wedding is nothing short of perfection. So strap yourselves in and get ready for some amazing insider tips from one of the best in the business. Natalie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm so excited to share my knowledge and to help couples out there listening.
Absolutely. No, of course. Look, you've done, so many weddings, and you're also seen as a leader within the industry for very good reason. And so obviously as a planner who stands, separate and on top of some of others in terms of like how well known you are, your signature traits, and how you really bring a lot of expertise to not only your team members, but also to the couples that you influence their weddings for. I would love to sort of first understand how you sort of go about creating the flow of a day, because a lot of couples aren't event planners or event managers like you and I, and so they sort of just they slap together a couple of choices and then they think, how does this all come together? We've been to weddings before and we still don't understand how it all worked. So how do you ensure that you're creating a plan / run sheet / sort of overall vision of the day that flows smoothly from start to finish? And what are the key elements that you make sure you include?
Yeah. So, look, firstly, when couples come to us, they are a bit overwhelmed and a bit confused with all the information first. So when they start to plan their wedding, we do see a lot of people who don't even know where to start, or have started planning, reached out to some vendors, and then stop because they're so overwhelmed. This is when we encourage people to chat to us, so we can get a good idea about what they want for their day, because that gives us a great start to a run sheet and to be able to put together the moments that are really important to the couples. So it's not just going off a run sheet that your photographer gave you or your MC or your wedding planner, really. It's making sure that we really understand the couple, and then we can prioritize things in the day that really are important to them. So I really encourage people to not go off a standard online template for wedding, to really think about what they want to prioritize in their day. That way we can ensure we start off with those moments in the run sheet, and then we work our way up and down, filling in the times as to how long we think each moment will take. That way we're not rushing. We don't like to not allow enough time for certain things. So we really like to spread out the day so that the couples also don't feel like they've rushed their day. And then a lot of people say to them, one of the tips that a lot of past couples give to newlyweds, like newly engaged couples, is, oh, the day goes by so fast, so try and enjoy it. But to enjoy the actual day, the flow needs to be smooth rather than a rush. So having a coordinator or having an MC or professionals involved in your day ensures that they give their feedback as well. And then you're able to create the perfect run sheet that you get what you want on the day, and then you're not rushing to actually get it done. So you feel like you have enjoyed all the moments. And look, I love to put into my run sheet, schedule in like a 15-minute block of time that the couple actually just sit back and look at their guests enjoying the day and everything that they've planned. Because I find that a lot of couples don't take that time. They just want to get to the dancing stage, but then the dancing stage is over and then they have the regret the next day of they didn't take it all in. And I'm just like, okay, let's block off 15 minutes. So I prioritize things that the couples will want as well, because I know, having planned so many weddings, I know the regrets that come with it the day after from a lot of couples. So it's like making sure your run sheet is perfect and all the vendors have a copy and everyone's on board with what the couple want out of their day is really important. So the flow of the day is just, don't rush things, prioritize first what you want in the day, and then everything else can work around it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it is definitely a battle that I gently fight with certain couples who I have in my orbit who say, we just want everything over and done with. And I say, sure,
Yeah.
like absolutely,
Yeah.
that I get the concept behind that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not one to try to bog down the evening with
Yeah.
endless ongoing formalities that just never seem to end. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I always tell my couples that everything should happen when it needs to happen. And they think, well, what do you mean? That's what we're trying to figure out. I say, yeah, but what I mean is that we will have a plan, we'll have a structure, we'll have a flow, but we'll
Yeah.
also bake in there, as you do as well, quite correctly, in my opinion, we bake in time that allows both the couple and also the audience, who often get forgotten in the mix, to really ingest what just happened. It's one
Yeah.
thing to go through all these things and have all these formalities bunched up against one another, but nothing worse than having a crowd who is busting to go to the bathroom or just really
Yeah.
wants to go and digest and talk about what just happened or how beautiful
Yeah.
that speech was or anything, but they're like, nope,
Yeah.
we're on to the next thing now, we're
There
on
was
to the
no
next thing. And
time. Yeah.
no,
There was no
no,
time to pause and actually
no.
take it in. Yeah,
And so
definitely.
I really appreciate that that's part of your process, and certainly I think one of the greatest takeaways that people can really take from this episode. And I think, was this something that you found you were either naive to when you were planning, when you had your own wedding take place? Because obviously this is where it all inspired for you to now be where you are
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Was it? Did you do it perfectly, or was it like a lot of these things you're now
Yeah, definitely.
incorporating?
Look, the flow of my day was pretty much based on the venue's template run sheet.
Mm,
So at that time, it was 10 years ago. So it was actually, I just went with what the venue gave me, and I
mm,
wasn't able to put my sort of flair into it and what I wanted out of the day. I felt like I had to go with what everyone else was saying, whereas I would prefer now couples tell me what they want, and then I can create the run sheet around that. I find that a lot of couples who don't have a coordinator or a wedding planner are just relying on the venue coordinator's run sheet. So just, you can have a bit of flexibility. So couples shouldn't just think, oh, we have to do this. And whereas that's what I was thinking when I was engaged and planning my
mm,
wedding, I didn't actually take into consideration what I wanted and what I
mm.
would like to have prioritized. So that's definitely something these days that couples have the privilege to just focus on what they want. And yes, it's about the guest experience as well. But the guest experience and what the couple want should match, because I see my couples as guests at their own wedding as well. And when I create my run sheets, I want their experience to be like a guest experience. I want it obviously more enhanced, but I want it to be that they can sit back and actually enjoy the day as well, like a guest would.
Yeah.
but have all the privileges at the same
No, it's
time.
great. And
Yeah,
I think it's a perfect way to go about it and definitely get into a bit of a different mindset. And so that they're able
yeah,
to really truly enjoy the experience. Now, speaking about
yeah.
experience in a different light, obviously we need, it's one thing to have this vision, it's another thing for it to come to life. And obviously, the slew of wedding vendors that are at people's choice and disposal these days is growing and growing and growing each and every single year. So obviously, you're somebody who is, the master of entrusted to provide those recommendations to
Mm.
people if they aren't lucky enough to have someone like you on their side, or even perhaps if they do have a planner and they're still struggling with those choices in terms of what vendors to really go with, what should they be in terms of vendors themselves? What
Yeah.
are the metrics? What should they be looking for? How do they determine if they're a good fit for their vision?
Yeah. Look, when couples first look at vendors, finding the right vendors for themselves, like social media is a great place to start. So if you like the Facebook, Instagram, if you like the look of people's pages, that's
Mm,
great to start there. But if they align with your vision, that's amazing. That's somewhere to start with. If obviously they go to someone's Instagram page and none of the photos are aligned with what they're looking for, that's definitely not someone you're going to inquire with.
mm,
After that, I do feel like looking more into depth into websites, reviews, going into more depth looking into that business rather than just going off the social media. So that's great to start off with, but then focus on the actual reviews, customer testimonials of people who have actually booked with them and gone with them and their experience with that vendor. Um, the third thing I would recommend is after you've read the reviews, you think that, yep, that vendor's amazing. Follow them on social media. Make sure that their stories and things are aligning with the values and the elements
mm.
that you want for your wedding, and then reach out to them online, but don't ask them for prices straight up. Make sure you're connecting with them in a different way. So like make sure that if you see something on social media that you're like, yep, that person really gets the type of wedding that I would like, or really
Mm.
gets the vibe, really is like their values align with mine, and I feel like they'd execute it perfectly, my vision perfectly. So then reach out to them and ask to jump on a call. Having a Zoom call, having a phone call, even if you're not comfortable to have a Zoom call face to face, have a chat. Just have a chat with the vendors. I find it so many times that people just book vendors online, and then they're so disappointed with the vibe of the wedding, and
Sure.
they didn't realize that they wouldn't connect. Like especially for a photographer, right? If you're gonna
Mm.
book in a photographer, you're gonna be with them all day, and if you don't vibe and you have to pose a certain way that you don't like, and then the vendor doesn't know that you're not that type of person, it's not, the flow of the day is not going to be great for you. So it's not going to
Couldn't
be an
agree more.
easy, smooth wedding.
Couldn't agree
You
more. I
need
mean, I
you
think
need
I
to
talk about this with
connect.
people so often,
Yeah, it's
and
so important to connect with your vendors that are going to be there on your day.
just chat
Yeah.
to us. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
we're
I'm, I'm
people.
respectful.
We're
Yeah,
human.
totally respectful of the fact that obviously, everyone has different preferences in the way they engage in different
Yeah.
services, the way they engage to the world. And some people are generally not comfortable at all, like in terms of,
Yeah.
other factors that may be going into that scenario. But I
Yeah.
find that, I always want, like, just speaking for myself, but I'm sure you resonate with this. I want to work with people who want to work with me.
Yes.
And so
100%.
like yeah, and it's pretty much, I hope I speak for the entire industry when I say that a phone call
Yeah.
slash Zoom call slash some sort of personal interaction beyond the email, beyond the
Yeah.
quote, beyond the brochure. Like realistically, there are a number of different ways like Canva to make beautiful brochures these days.
Yeah.
But if you don't understand who the person is behind
Yeah.
that, then you're going to be caught out a lot. And I know that a
Yeah.
lot of people get caught out with the idea of sort of they go, right, there's too many options. I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm really busy. And that's fine.
Mm.
You're allowed to make that choice. But then they choose the three letters that obviously they give a lot of vendors a bit of cringe on the inside, which is DIY. And so I wanted to talk to you about this because I know as a planner, it's like the
Yeah.
antithesis of like who you are as a person. And don't get me wrong, beautiful DIY weddings exist. You absolutely are capable of putting together a beautiful soiree from it.
Yeah.
But I think there is a middle ground that I would like to hear from you in terms of how, if you believe it's important to make sure that even though, yes, you may be DIYing a lot of different factors, is it
Mm.
still critical to make sure that you're going for key aspects to rely on the professionals, say like a planner, photographer, caterer, etc.?
Yeah, look, definitely. I've seen it so many times. Just I've heard so many stories of things going wrong at weddings, and then majority of the time it's because the vendors were not professional vendors. They were
Mm.
family members, they were friends, they were allocated jobs. Friends complain after the weddings. They complain. They
It's
don't
true.
want to be doing. They don't want to be doing and DIY tasks. They don't want to be setting up things. They don't want to be going to the flower market at 5 a.m. the day before. They don't want to be doing your flowers. Trust me, they don't. And if you give them a to-do list, they'll just complain, and it doesn't get done right. It doesn't get done
Mm.
to the level that I think the couples think it will get done. I think they trust that their friends will do what they would like. However, they're not professionals and they haven't been doing that job. So DIY weddings, I feel like there's a place for them, but you can DIY. I feel like you can DIY certain items like styling things. I feel like that's not too bad. Don't get too
Hmm.
crafty. I feel like a lot of brides love to get too crafty and then overextend themselves to the point where the week of the wedding, they're still DIYing things and putting things
Mm.
together because
Mm.
they committed to them doing it. Whereas I want my couples to relax in the lead up to the wedding. I don't want them to have to think about all the things that they need to do on the week of. So I think trusting professional vendors to do the actual running of the day. So like the
Mm.
caterer, the MC, the DJ, they all need to be professionals. That way, the day before, if the couple want to set up things and do little things that they want, they can make it look how they want. But then the running of the day goes smoothly because the vendors are professionals at what they do. I've seen it so many times. I've heard it so many times. Even
Yeah,
professional
same.
vendors, I'm finding like I've been hearing a lot from couples. I've been getting last minute inquiries from couples who have been let down by vendors as well. So
That's true.
it
Yep. Yep.
takes me back to like our previous chat just about finding the right vendor. If you're not having a chat to that person, you're just
Mm.
signing a contract, you don't trust the person, like you're just doing everything online. I feel like a couple of the people who have approached me so last minute have been let down in the way that the vendors have like closed the business. They've taken their money. They're not going to show up. They've cancelled on them a week before. They've double booked, and it's like they're not set up to even have a backup plan if something goes wrong in the business, and they're letting people down. So I feel like even yes, having professionals is amazing, but having the right professionals, having the reliable ones, and people have been in the industry for a while and would not let the couples down. So I feel
Yes,
like
I
it's
couldn't agree
instead
more.
of just like that's why I think having the Zoom calls, having that trust built is so important
Mm.
rather
No, you're
than just
100% correct. You really are correct. And I mean, look, I understand that it does upset some vendors who are probably listening,
mm,
thinking, "Well, hang on, I've
yeah,
only just been going around for a couple of years." But I mean,
yeah,
I've always argued, and this is sort of maybe a bit of a note to them, is just to say, look, always set yourself up like a bigger business than what you are, in the sense that
mm,
if you do so, you will do so many of those things that couples really do hope from you. Here's a great
yeah,
example: having all the correct insurances, and this is something that
yeah.
everyone, you should be
Oh, it's
only
so
hiring
important.
people who have
Yeah, I
them.
get
Yeah,
so many times I have to gather the public liability insurances for venues, and it's
yeah,
some don't have it, or they're a
yeah.
family friend and they just don't have it. And it's like you really need to have the people who know how to run their own business and
Yeah,
who
no,
are
it's
like,
100% correct.
yeah,
Because then otherwise you're then risking so much. I've even heard of, I
yeah,
had a friend who was getting married and he'd booked a transport company that didn't even have a service agreement and were taking
mm,
cash. And I said, well, there's two problems there. One, you're not establishing a contract with them from a legal
yeah,
contract basis, and you're not establishing a financial contract because you're not getting
mm,
any receipts. And so if you're comfortable with that risk, Absolutely. My note to you audiences, go
Yeah,
out and do so, because
yeah,
everything we do in life is about balancing the risk and not being judged for that. But
yeah,
certainly, if you're not prepared for that kind of risk, then definitely mitigate that by getting the kind of people that you described, Natalie. And
yeah, yeah.
I want to sort of bring it sort of a micro lens down to what you do now, only
Mhm.
because of the fact that there is a growing sense of wanting to get day coordinators rather
Yeah.
than planners, because
Mhm.
a people are obviously day planner versus wedding planner, so day coordinator versus wedding planner is cheaper, like that's just objectively
Yeah.
a fact.
Yeah.
But then also there are couples who still want that sort of backbone skeleton sort of reliance on having somebody who can help them throughout the day,
Yeah.
and there's no other apparatus. They don't want an MC, or the venue coordinator leaves at 7 o'clock just as the entrance takes place. But at the same time, they feel confident enough that they can plan,
Mhm.
taking in all the advice you've said so far. So can you walk us the difference between the two briefly, and also why it's important to understand the differences, because it's been coming
Yeah,
up
definitely.
quite a lot lately.
Yeah, look, there are significant differences. So a lot of couples need to be educated on the differences because they feel that an on the day coordinator is going to support them through the planning, and it's just
Mm,
not right. Some planners might be saying that, but it's just not true. Time is the greatest difference between both services.
mm,
So full scale planning is normally from start to finish with the couple. So, as a full scale planner, if I was hired, I would be sitting down with the couple. They would be giving me all the information of what they sort of want. I would be then reaching out to vendors, gathering quotes for them. They would pretty much be the decision makers in their wedding. They would not have a lot of communication with the vendors. I would narrow down the top three vendors that I would recommend for that particular wedding based on the brief that the couple have given me. And then I would present them with that. They would make a decision. I would deal directly with the vendor. So
mm,
the run sheet, the floor plans, the site visits, any communication with vendors, that's all done through me. So the
mhm,
couple, majority of the couples who opt for the full scale planning are very
mhm.
time poor. So their jobs are very stressful. They physically do not have the time, or they don't want to spend the hours and hours that it takes to plan a wedding. So
Yeah.
there's two things. So either you don't have the time, or you just don't want to have the time for that. You have better things to put your time into. Whereas day coordinating, we come in roughly 6 months before the wedding. So the couples do most of the planning. They gather the quotes. They tell the vendors what they would like for their day. We would give them a draft run sheet at that stage so they could have something to go off.
Mm,
And then we'd put in there the important bits that they wanted from our initial consult with them. So we would know what style of wedding that they're going to have, and then they're able to tell the vendors that they want. This is like the rough timeline of what we're thinking. So they have a starting point at least. But all the communication between the vendors and themselves would be done directly between themselves. And then we would jump in again. We would do a site visit with them, and we would put together their run sheet, finalize that, send it to the vendors roughly a month before the wedding, ask for their feedback, and then be there on the day to ensure it all went to plan. That's the two differences. So one has a lot more
mm,
time put into the client in the lead up, and they can rely on us for a lot more things. So whereas coordinating, less time put in the lead up, but still have a detailed run sheet put together for them, and still everything runs smoothly on the day. Whereas planning, we ensure that every detail is not missed. So
mm,
we would make sure that, like, if it was a DIY property, like a property wedding, that
mm.
bathrooms were hired in, that generators were available, lighting was sorted out. So every little detail from the start would have been organized. Whereas coordinating, if we jump in and we notice that, oh, you haven't organized bathrooms or something, sometimes it's not too late, but sometimes it's like, well,
Mm.
really, the couple should have thought about that.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can jump in and help a lot more if we were there in the process a lot earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true. And I think it's a really, as you said, it's just about meeting people where they're happy to accommodate the amount of
Yeah,
time and
definitely.
outsourcing sort of what they're prepared to do. Some
Yeah,
people obviously don't have that kind of costs, and the trend at the moment is that they're reducing their cost of the wedding by potentially only opting for day
coordinating.
coordinators
Yeah,
a lot more than the wedding planning.
yeah.
Speaking of trends, I would obviously there's so many going around, but sort of I'm more
Mhm.
focused on your thoughts on some of the most like common ones that are taking place, such as day coordination as well over wedding plan at the moment. And
Yeah,
as a planner slash coordinator, how do you help people to incorporate those trends without sort of
yeah.
shoehorning them in? Because I do see that happen where it's like, no, I saw this on TikTok and I really want it. And it's like,
Yeah,
"Mm,
yeah,
it doesn't work."
definitely.
How do you
Yeah.
balance that?
Look, it's about setting the three non-negotiables, I think, in the very early stages. So if food's very important, if the styling's more important, if the cater, like whatever is the most important three things, I think the trends that come along with those things you may like to get involved in. But if it was never something that was important to you and it's just something that looks so fun,
Mhm.
you don't need to incorporate everything into your day, because
Yeah.
then it makes it like, oh, what was the actual vibe of the wedding? It was jumbled up. They did everything, and it's not an all encompassing like vibe. It's just
Yeah.
all scattered. So I think if the catering is super important, you might do like a dessert tower. At the moment,
Mm.
instead of like champagne towers, people are doing dessert towers. So whatever was super important to you, go with those trends that really like align with what you wanted in the first place.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my advice, because there are a lot of things out there. And
Oh yeah,
um,
tons.
the other thing is like with the styling, right? So a lot of couples early on, like say they're planning their wedding a year and a half out of the wedding,
Hmm.
within the year and a half until the wedding day, a lot of things change, trends change. And
Mm.
they might, in 6 months' time, think, oh, I actually want to completely change my wedding and go with a different theme or a different vibe. And it's
Yeah.
like, don't set yourself up from the early stages with the aesthetics. And then because you may change your mind. So book in the vendors, but keep the, like, I know a lot of stylists who won't commit to
Mm.
a certain design, a certain concept until a little bit closer, because they know that couples change their plans and their
Oh,
minds.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so don't think that you have to commit to it early on, but book in the vendors that you feel like are able to execute the vision that you want.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes sense.
that's my
Absolutely.
advice.
And that level of mental flexibility to say, look, when we
Yeah,
get these people, they will guide us in the right direction. When the
exactly.
time comes, I'm reminded of the more recent transition out of rustic weddings, and certainly
Yeah.
those who had planned them already kind of obviously had to commit to
Oh,
them. And so, and
yes,
there was
100%.
definitely a bit of
Rustic is out.
yeah, it
Rustic
is.
has
It's
always
gone.
been
Yeah.
out for me. There's a way to elevate rustic, okay? And it's
Well,
not
we don't
like
have to worry about it because certainly,
the
we're
burlap
definitely not.
table runners and stuff. It's like that. Please don't bring that back.
Yeah, and I don't think it'll be coming back anytime soon, at least
Yeah,
not for it
I
was
hope
definitely
not.
done for a while. Natalie, we are fast running out of time. I know that you're a font of knowledge, and we could definitely, do a much longer episode. But I am bound by the time limits for these episodes. So instead, what I'll do is I'm going to ask you a couple of rapid fires, and then of
Mhm.
course we'll find out exactly how people can make sure they get your planning services and not a non-rustic wedding from you. So first off, I got to ask. What is the one question, just one primary question that couples should ask you when they're working with you? What is the most important thing you want them to know?
That I want them to know.
Yeah,
Um,
about you.
oh, about me, I'm super organized, so you don't have to be.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
because I'm like the control freak, so I allow my couples to relax, and I'm like involved in all the details, so they know that it will run smooth. So allow
Well, I
me to
like that.
do what I'm best at, and yeah, being
Yep.
like solution focused and organized is my thing.
Perfect. And secondly, if you were not doing this, if this you had nothing to do with your wedding, you did your wedding when you're 22 and you said, "Yep, not for me," what would you be doing instead?
I would be a chef. I've
Oh,
told
really?
my husband this. I love cooking. I love,
Mm.
because even part of events, I love hosting. I love when people come over and I put on a spread. I never let my family cook anything. I just have everything like that they could want available. And I just love cooking for my family. And yeah, that's what I'd be doing.
Well, there's a lot of jealous men out there right now that would love to
My
of your
husband's
husband.
very happy and very well fed.
Well, Natalie, how can people find you? How can they book you? How can they
Yeah.
be completely taken over from the planning process and make sure they have a dream day that you promised?
Yeah. I would say reach out to me online through my website. If we connect, if I'm not the very like stuck up professional wedding planners out there, I'm very down to earth and I love to create weddings that couples want for their wedding. So
Yeah.
reach out to me online and we'll have a Zoom call or a phone call, whatever people prefer, get to know each other. And then if we both vibe, great, let's do it.
Love it. Perfect. Well, may the good vibes continue. Natalie, thank you so much for your insights, your time, and your passion for this. And I wish you all the very best. I hope to work with you again soon. But more importantly, wish you the very best for the next 15 years of to come.
Oh, yeah. Thanks so much, Nathan.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Wedding Podcast. Please like and subscribe to let me know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.